And we're live. Put that back. All right, are we ready to do this?
Yes.
Cool.
One second.
Sure.
Thought I heard myself, but I guess not. I don't hear myself now.
Could have heard you off my headset, my open ear. Let me turn you down. There we go. Say something?
Hello.
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay.
All right. Damn it, I can't do anything right. Tech, twice weekly, episode number 12. Hey everybody, this is Tech Twice Weekly, and it is September 8th, 2014. My name is Ben White, and this is a technology news podcast bringing you the latest headlines and discussing them twice a week, every Monday and Thursday. Feels good getting back into the twice a week rhythm again, actually doing two shows back to back. Thankfully, with August behind me, my personal schedule should start to slow down, making the show get out exactly when you expect it to, when I advertise that it'll be out. We're still working on nailing down a solid time, but hey, the episodes come out twice a week. We'll make that commitment going forward. But enough about my crazy schedule. One who is always available for my shows, thankfully, otherwise you'd have to hear me just ramble on all by myself, is my good friend Eric Fee. How's it going, man?
I have no life.
Well, I'm not sure that's entirely true.
Don't worry. I'm sure enough for the both of us.
1 second. We'll edit the dog out in post, I guess, right? So, how did last weekend treat you, man?
Pretty groovy. I had a 3-day week. I was really excited.
Oh, that's right. You mentioned last Thursday you were taking an extra day off.
I spent about 8 hours upside down under my friend's dashboard working on a clutch cable, which was entirely too difficult.
For most of us, that might not sound so fun, but I'm guessing you actually enjoyed yourself.
If I had come away with no injuries, it would have been a much better experience.
What kind of car were you working on?
Richard's 97 Volkswagen Jetta.
Okay.
Some things about Volkswagens are great. Some things about them are less than great. And while I love that car, his car and my old car, I will tell you that clutch cable is mumbo jumbo, to say the least. Plus, come on, what's with this cable stuff? Let's go to hydraulic already.
I know nothing. I actually literally have no comment on that subject without sounding completely uneducated, and yeah, that's all I can say.
You've seen a clutch pedal like 5 times in your life. Don't worry about it.
I used a clutch once. I was backing my dad's truck out of the driveway slowly, and then I parked it in front of the house and quickly jumped into my automatic and drove off.
I remember. I was there.
It was a miracle.
It was.
Well, enough about my lack of understanding of anything involving a motor vehicle. I guess we should jump into our headlines. So, starting us off today is news from The Verge on Facebook making an effort to help users fix their privacy settings. Facebook has always been criticized for having complex and confusing privacy controls. However, it looks like the company is trying to change that by adding a new tool called Privacy Checkup, which features a blue dinosaur to help teach users how their privacy controls work. The Privacy Checkup was tested on a small group of users back in March, but has now been rolled out to all users of the service. I haven't yet had a chance to check out the tool myself, but I hope it helps people bring their privacy controls under control. Because really, the big point here is there's nothing worse than having things on Facebook be public that you don't expect to be public. If it's public on Facebook, you should know that you're posting publicly to Facebook, and that's what it really comes down to. Next story, we have PC Gamer covering the news that Epic Games has announced that they'll be making their newest Unreal Engine 4 free for use in schools. This includes college, universities, as well as high schools, from my understanding. According to the announcement, teachers will be able to sign up for access to the program online, and students will be provided free copies of the Unreal Engine 4 tools, which can be installed on both school systems as well as personal computers free of charge. Epic Games did make it clear, however, that if a student wanted to make the jump from educational development to commercial development, they would still need to pay Epic a 5% royalty from any game sales. What do you think of this idea? I'm kind of excited about students actually having a real engine to work with.
Well, the news didn't go into it, but Unreal Engine 3 has been available for free for a while, with similar royalty deals going on. And even if it wasn't free, access to Unreal Engine 4 is $20 a month for a subscription. And the subscription gives you access to all of the Unreal 4 engine's code and lots of demos and forums for people who are interested in or learning or are professional game developers. So the cost really isn't that big of a deal from the development point of view. 5% royalty start after $3,000, and I don't know if the old royalty scheme is available still or not, but the old royalty scheme was either you get to choose 5% royalties after $3,000 or 25% royalties after $50,000. So small games could get a break and conserve a lot of money, and big games could go the slow route from the beginning and pay out less in total.
And is that something that everyone has access to, or is that really for indies and like big AAA developers have to come up with an independent agreement with Epic? Do you know?
I'm pretty sure that's for anyone, and of course indies are usually regular Joes like you and I, and sometimes the little companies. And I'm not sure what big AAA developers do. Their knowledge is above me.
Well, and I think it's exciting though to get kids, instead of working on some dumbed down school version of a development engine, actually working hands-on on something that they can learn and then actually spin out their projects to be real, actual, potentially money-making ventures for them.
Sure. Sometimes some schools are averse to choosing non-free alternatives, and there are plenty of free alternatives to learn on out there as well.
Awesome. Well, let's jump forward to Bloomberg reporting on rumors that landline phone service provider CenturyLink may be looking into purchasing the cloud server provider Rackspace. The deal, If the deal were to go through, it would give CenturyLink more internet and cloud services, which would help the company compete against bigger players such as Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. Currently, Rackspace has a stock market evaluation of $5.33 billion, according to someone in the know about the matter. And that may end up being too rich for CenturyLink to buy on cash alone, according to analysts. However, it may be possible for CenturyLink to close the deal as either a joint venture with Rackspace or by offering stock as part of the sale. Right now, neither company has been willing to openly comment on these rumors. CNET is covering a small bakery and coffee shop called August 1st in Vermont that has recently started enforcing a laptop and tablet free policy. The business is owned by a husband and wife who recently had the idea to switch off the free Wi-Fi they were offering their customers and begin enforcing a laptop and tablet free environment. According to the owners, they were starting to think that the laptop and tablet users were spending less money in their store while staying longer. While they were both very nervous about their experiment, they quickly discovered that the sales actually grew for the business. They have seen some negative reviews on Yelp about the policy, but they have also received many reviews praising the policy and thanking them for enforcing it. What do you think, Eric? Would you go to a coffee shop more often if they kicked out everyone with laptops and tablets?
I don't visit coffee shops as much nowadays, but I was usually, yeah, in a coffee shop pretty much every day. And I will say that from a consumer point of view, someone who's interested in getting coffee or meeting someone or having a conversation or as using their laptop, I never really thought that other people using their laptops or tablets were any sort of disruption from the consumer experience. Usually they would be doing their own thing in their own area, whatever. And I never saw anything that I thought would be negative. I can understand a business owner wanting to keep an element such as that, such as I myself have been, out of the establishment, but I can also understand how having customers there, even if they have made their purchase, even just having them there can be kind of a business adoption. I mean, when you see two coffee shops right next to each other, you see one full of people, whether they're on their laptops or not, and you see one with only a customer or two inside. Um, it might be nice to go to the abandoned coffee shops because there's more people to serve your offer, your order, excuse me. But at the same time, we're always drawn to where we see other people.
That's a good point, and I think this comes down to the business perspective where they were seeing people lounging around in their small coffee shop on their laptop, just sipping on coffee and passing the day as they do their work or business, whereas the people who don't have the laptops are coming and going, making room for more customers to come through the door and opening up more tables, kind of like how a restaurant wants to turn over their tables a certain number of times during an evening. I'm sure this business was starting to look at it that way, and some of these laptop users were using their internet for free, presumably, and sitting at a table in the coffee shop for potentially hours on end, sipping on their $3.50 cup of coffee.
Maybe, although your internet is broadcasting already and your monthly bill has been paid, usually devices use less power than you're paying for their coffee on top of whatever the coffee costs. I mean, I'm from Portland, so lounging around in a coffee shop, laptop or not, is kind of a de facto thing to do in the first place. And if I was in a small town local coffee shop and they were like, get out unless you're going to buy another coffee, I would be like, okay, I'll just go to Starbucks because even though they might not serve the greatest coffee beans known to man, at least I won't get harassed.
That's a good point. And in that argument, it's kind of surprising that they've seen their business increase with the implementation of this policy. And it makes me wonder if it's not representative of the market in general, and perhaps simply representative of a small niche market that that they happen to be able to capitalize on in their area.
Possibly, it also could be a spike just simply because of the advertising that news has given them. I mean, if their customer stream either continues to grow or stays at a slightly higher level as they have been reporting, it may, they may have capitalized on a niche market like you said, but it also may just be advertising and then it'll dry up.
That's a good point. Sustainability is huge. I mean, I can't imagine this place hasn't been, at least from the news story, it doesn't seem like this policy has been in effect a terribly long time at this point. So that'd be interesting to check back in a year or 2 years and see if they're able to maintain something like this and if their increase in business is maintained as well.
Well, anyone who owns a restaurant or delicatessen knows that business can be great for a little while and then it can dry up. And if you can't weather the storm, then your restaurant may just be gone.
Exactly. Yeah, businesses fail all the time for so many different reasons. Well, speaking of businesses that fail, one that might be too big to fail, I guess you could say, is Disney. Continuing his offensive fight with Disney, deadmau5 has filed a cease and desist for use of his track Ghosts in Stuff in an online video remix published to Disney.com. The Verge article on the story includes a statement that Disney released to Rolling Stone saying Disney vigorously protects its trademark rights, and we oppose Mr. Zimmerman's attempt to register a logo that is nearly identical to our trademarks for his commercial exploitation. Of course, that non-legalese says Disney thinks that deadmau5's classic mouse head is too close to the Mickey Mouse head. And that's an argument that could go back and forth all day. But Disney also said, via their spokesperson, that their opposition is not about the use of the deadmau5 costume. The music in their remixed video was appropriately licensed, and there is no merit to his statement. So, to me, it sounds like there's two sides to this story, and it makes you wonder if maybe deadmau5 is going to get caught tripping over his own words, so to speak, in that maybe someone associated with him who may manage the rights to his music may have sold off the right or authorized Disney to use his music at some point without his explicit knowledge. I don't know. That doesn't seem very Disney-like to use someone else's copyrighted material without knowing clearly that they're in the legal right. They've got a legal team that they put a whole lot of money into, and so I imagine that they're pretty confident in their case. Have you been paying much attention to this unfold?
I've a little bit. I'm a fan of some of deadmau5's music, so I find that he's always an interesting character to read about. I think that in large corporations, not all uses of other people's trademark material is authorized. A lot of times, someone is told by a manager, hey, make a video, use some cool music that the kids like, blah blah blah, and then they'll go out and grab a song. Either they might personally own it or they can just get access to it and then use it. Just because it was used in a video does not necessarily mean that it was correctly authorized, although the spokesperson said it was, so there's probably merit to that. I will say that deadmau5's head costume, I think, looks a little bit like the Mickey Mouse head in a lot of ways, but also there has to be a limit to where trademarks come from. I don't think that deadmau5 is trying to use Mickey Mouse's head to launch his career. He's kind of already launched it, and he's already world famous. And I also read a story about Dead Mouse last week where he was attempting to sell a Ferrari that had a lot of customizations, including a vinyl wrapping that looked like the what's the name of that cat that has the body of a Pop-Tart and flies with rainbows?
Oh, Nyan Cat.
Yes, he had that on his car,
That's
and
awesome.
he had a bunch of uh, embroidered flooring and a bunch of other customizations on the car, and he attempted to sell it, and he got a cease and desist letter for Ferrari for having custom images on the car that too closely resembled Ferrari's logo. And I thought that was very interesting because I was like, okay.
Wait. They said he couldn't sell the car, the Ferrari. He couldn't sell the Ferrari because it had logos that resembled Ferrari's logo?
Yeah, on his custom floor mats, I think it was the specifics.
Oh, jeez. See, and
Yeah.
I think that's where this is being taken too far because there is no one who's going to see Dead Mouse with his mouse head on and think, "Oh, Mickey Mouse." No one's going to make that mistake.
Yeah. I think the only people that could make that mistake are people who don't know him or his music, and I don't think that people are going to be buying shows or merchandise of him in his costume thinking it's Mickey Mouse. And even if they did, does that really matter? People mistake things that are much different all the time.
Right. And from Disney's perspective, on a visual basis, maybe a couple of people make that mistake. But realistically, the number of people who possibly could think that Dead Mouse has any representation to Disney are not going to be an impacting number to their business. His use of that head is in an entirely different market than Disney represents and poses no competitive challenge to their business.
Well, I just think that, trademarks like that need to be viewed uh, with a sense of uh, trademarks like that need to be viewed with some common sense. Like you can't just look at a logo and say, well, it's similar, therefore they can't have it. And it's like, well, just because it's similar doesn't necessarily mean it's the same.
Right. And I'm really looking forward to seeing this go before a judge, to be honest, because I'm hoping that they're going to get a judge with some actual common sense and a brain in his head that will hear out this case and actually settle it on its merits. But realistically, these things have a tendency to just be settled before they actually see a courtroom. The next story in our lineup here is from PocketLint, reporting on HTC abandoning its plans to develop a smartwatch. Sources familiar with the matter told PocketLint that the development plans for smartwatch are being abandoned for now, although officially HTC has made no statement on the matter. The rumor leaves me wondering how much longer HTC can really remain competitive in the smartphone space. With both Samsung and Google releasing smartwatches and Apple rumored to have one on the way, it is looking like the smartwatch may be the next must-have accessory every smartphone manufacturer needs to be making. Superhero fans rejoice. CNET brings us news on the Royal Canadian Mint releasing commemorative coins as a tribute to Superman. The collectible coins set will include a limited run of 4 different coins made from fine silver and 14 karat gold. There will be 10,000 copies of each coin made, with the exception of the gold coin, which will only have 2,000 copies created. Gizmodo is covering the news that the International Space Station may be part of the robot uprising. By this, I of course mean that the space station has been launching microsatellites known as CubeSat without any human control. Last Thursday, ISS Commander Steve Swanson discovered the doors of the CubeSat launcher were open, and after notifying NASA, it was confirmed that 2 of the CubeSat microsatellites had been launched without any human interaction. This isn't the first time this has happened either. Back on August 23rd, 2 more of the CubeSats launched themselves as well. Thankfully, while NASA is looking into why this is occurring, the CubeSat devices aren't showing any signs of being self-aware. All right, well, those are our headlines for tonight. So I want to jump us into the tech toys you wish you could buy. I gotta come up with some like bumpers between these segments or something. Hint, hint. Anybody listening out there who makes audio? I'd love a bumper. Just saying, fans. All right, so the first gadget I stumbled on that I thought was kind of interesting is a product called the anti-router. Well, it's called Unplug, but it acts as an anti-router. And what it does is it stops drones, cameras, Google Glass, and other Wi-Fi devices from connecting to a network. What the device does is it allows anything looking for a wireless access point to connect to it, but it won't pass along that network connectivity. So the device is basically just a tiny little router that has been customized in its firmware to block devices based on their MAC addresses. It was created by Julian Oliver, an artist out of Berlin, who came across some code that was intended to kick Google Glass devices off of someone's Wi-Fi network. He liked the idea and modified it to work on this personal router device. The device also isn't just intended for Google Glass, of course. It has an all-out mode which prevents surveillance devices from connecting to any Wi-Fi in the network, any Wi-Fi network in the area, although this may be illegal, so keep that in mind if you somehow manage to get your hands on this device. Right now, the device is set to retail for $50 to $100, but there is no current release date available at this time. What do you think of a product like this, Eric? Is this something useful or just something novel?
I think that I don't know how it would be legal, but there's probably something I'm not thinking of. Stopping items by MAC address is only a short stopgap measure. It's always possible to change devices' MAC addresses, and it's always possible to spoof them. And there's many things you can do to get around MAC address blocking. And even so, if your Wi-Fi network is secured like it should be, then they're not going to be accessing your Wi-Fi anyways.
That's a really good point. And the other thing I think is interesting is that this isn't a Wi-Fi jammer in any regard. It doesn't keep things from connecting or disrupt signal in any way. All it does is detect specific devices and disconnects them from a wireless network. I think it's clever, I suppose. And one thing they address on the website is they actually present here in their FAQ, why not just password protect my Wi-Fi? And they go on to explain that their intent for this device is for on networks where you don't have control over the network directly. So maybe a coffee shop, a bar, your local coffee shop or school, maybe. I can see people using it somewhere there. I think this is clearly a disrupt device. It doesn't have a whole lot of functional purpose because I think there's better security methods that will have the same end result. So to me, I think this is really interesting. I think it's cool that it works, but I think really this is just not a gee whiz novelty. All right. Well, moving on to our next product here, a little more interesting. Mota vibrating jewelry. It allows you to get discrete notifications to a ring that you wear on your finger, paired to your Bluetooth, paired over Bluetooth to your cell phone. The device features a small OLED, I believe, maybe just LED display that can show icons. It's swipe sensitive, so you can swipe across it to go between notifications. And it can show things like the Twitter logo to let you know you've received a tweet, or an email icon to let you know that you've got an email message on your phone that you need to check. And using Bluetooth Low Energy 4.0, it allows communication between your phone and the ring for a very long time without needing to be recharged. Right now, the Ring is going through an Indiegogo campaign. They've got 25 days left. They're 20% funded at $19,857. They're going for a goal of $100,000 to fund the campaign. If you're interested, you can pick one up early bird for $60. I I'm almost tempted to jump on this. This seems unobtrusive enough that I might actually jump on this. What do you think, Eric? Is this something you would use or buy?
I like it. I'm a fan of jewelry, and I have been wearing a ring for a very long time. Um, and I think that it's a really interesting idea. The little screen sounds kind of useful. The only thing that kind of makes me go, "What is the price they're trying to fund? 100 grand?" I mean, if they have working prototypes that can show off 100 grand, like I'm trying to figure out. Well, I don't know, but that's a lot of money to produce a small gadget.
I have to agree, definitely. Looking over the campaign here and seeing if they give a breakdown at all about why they're asking for so much money and what the money will be used for as part of the development. And really, all they break it down to is you'll be covering supply chain and logistics for development, the injection molding and print heads required to develop and create the ring, as well as ironing out some development issues, it sounds like, through paying an engineering team. Um, Looks like they want to get the ring to pass Six Sigma standards. So I guess there's a lot of development work that still needs to be done. They got a timeline listed out here going into May 2015 for fulfillment, but I don't know. I think the $100,000 price point for the campaign seems really high, but the $60 price point for an early bird buy-in doesn't seem that bad. They do say they're looking to retail the ring at $100 out after the campaign, but $60 is kind of really tempting to throw out there on something that might end up being a flop, might just disappear into the ether. But I feel like $60 is a risk I'd be willing to take on a device like this.
Hey man, you could get 3 months of Unreal Engine 4 subscription with that.
Yeah, but I'm going to use the ring.
Mm-hmm.
With Unreal Engine 4. I would stare at it and not know what I'm doing, and then go back to screwing around with something much more in line with my pace. Like, what's that?
Etch a Sketch.
No, well, yes, but no, I was trying to think the not really engine builder on Steam. I'm totally spacing on the name of it right now, but yeah, the the engine out there that people have made a whole bunch of different things, like dominoes out of some of the NPCs in the Half-Life engine and stuff.
Gary's mod.
Gary's mod, that's the one. Yes. That's more my speed, where no real programming or understanding is required.
But you can have people make funny faces.
And what more do you really need?
Indeed.
So do you think you're gonna throw down $60 on this sucker? Or are you gonna just kind of wait it out and see how it shapes up after development?
I think I'll wait around. There will probably be other interesting ways to use small devices in the future. No reason to get myself hold on to one ring.
Was that a joke hidden in there? Is that what I just heard?
Never.
Yeah, the interesting thing with Indiegogos too is once an idea like this is made public, it's always interesting to me to see how many similar but different ideas come out of the woodwork. Not necessarily clones, but someone takes the concept and puts a whole new spin on it with newer technology or different technology and added features. So it's always kind of I'm always gun shy to jump on the first generation of an Indiegogo or a Kickstarter for an idea because I know that more revisions of it are soon to follow.
Well, not only that, but ones that don't have a $100,000 funding limits.
Well, and I have to give these guys credit. They are using a fixed funding campaign on Indiegogo, which means they will only receive funds if they meet their goal. They're not using flex funding, which many campaigns choose Indiegogo preferentially for, allowing them to keep any money that's given to them. So I give them props for that, for believing enough in their campaign to ask for all or nothing. All right. Well, that moves us into our discussion topics, and kind of in line with the Ring, looking at mobile accessories. I want to talk about the kind of Android watches that have burst onto the scene recently, being the first real collection of smartwatches. Have you paid much attention to the smartwatch category?
Not as much as I probably should, but to be honest, I'm not that interested in watches to begin with, and I probably will not be buying a smartwatch regardless.
Really? I always thought you were a watch wearer.
Like I said just a minute ago, I do like jewelry, but I really think that watches are kind of beholden to earlier technology, and even adding smartwatch, capabilities. My phone is usually never further than my pocket. So, I mean, actually, okay, I'm just thinking about smartwatches, and I was just thinking, how the heck would I wear a smartwatch on the motorcycle? And it just occurred to me, well, just wear the dang thing, and then when someone calls, I might know who it is. All I get for calls now is paused music, and then I know, oh, someone's calling me, but I don't know who it is until I stop.
Right. No, that's a really good use case for a smartwatch. Very Dick Tracy-like, where you could be riding your motorcycle down the road, glance down at your wrist, see if it's a call worth pulling off the road to answer, or is it worth trying to answer in your headset in ear, and making that call without ever having to dig your phone out of your pocket.
Well, when I'm riding, my phone stays where it is. I just, there's so many things to concentrate on the road that I don't have the capability or time to fish out my phone. And not only that, but at stoplights, I have my gloves on. It's a problem. So I just leave my phone where it lies, and whatever happens to it, happens to it. But it would be nice to also know what time it is when I'm riding, because although one of my motorcycles does have a clock, it's always off because for some reason it's either resetting or I'm forgetting to set it for daylight savings or whatever.
Sure, I can see that. And I think the big catch with these smartwatches is going to come down to the price point. Because if you could pick up something like this, even just something very, very basic for, $50 to $100, maybe you'd consider it for something that's maybe a one situation use case for you. But if these stay in the $250 price point, I think it's really hard to justify something that you might only use while you're riding.
Yeah, I really feel that if the watch is more expensive than my cell phone, something is wrong. Um,
Right.
and I think that over time they will come down because once they start to hit market and they're kind of showing off their flashiness, and Android Wear has more support, I think that other manufacturers will come along and offer something that's cheaper but still has the features that you need.
Yeah, exactly. And I used to be a big watch wearer. I wore one for a long time until I got a smartphone that I was really happy with. And now I've kind of ditched wearing my watch because I've got the smartphone. But I could see uses where an unobtrusive smartwatch could be nice. The LG Watch R that is being shown in the article I've linked in our show notes is kind of a nice one. It on its face, it doesn't immediately look gaudy like a smartwatch. It blends in. It looks like a traditional watch. It just has some extra features that are available. And for me, this all comes down to the price point, and I'm probably not going to be an early adopter on these. But once the price starts falling and there's actually some competition in the market, maybe even some off-brand Chinese knockoffs that slip into the marketplace, then I'm going to start shopping.
Totally. And ooh, I wonder if I could finally get turn-by-turn nav on my motorcycle.
I
Currently, I use the audio cues from turn by turn, which is okay, except for once the lady that's locked in my phone gives me a direction, I have to remember it.
Right, right. And depending on how fast you're going, sometimes that navigation doesn't keep up with how fast you're actually passing streets.
Yeah. Plus, we always remember like how sometimes it recalculates or it gets you off by a street. And it's like, oh, take a right now. Oh, wait, I was wrong. Take a right in 2 blocks. And it's
Right,
like, dang
right.
it. So there's always that someday.
So I'm going to jump straight to our last topic here. We're running a little bit long today, but I want to talk about Apple's event scheduled for tomorrow. I know neither of us are really big Apple users. I know you've got a Mac laptop there that you work with, but and I previously have used an iPhone, but I haven't really paid a whole lot of attention to them recently. But is there anything you're looking forward to hearing out of the Apple announcement tomorrow, or anything you're kind of curious to see how it turns out?
Well, I'm not a big Apple user specifically, but I do like the push and pull competition aspect between the three big smartphone operating systems nowadays. So I'm always looking forward to new announcements of any of them because I know that if they make something very awesome, it will come around to the other platforms. So I'm looking forward to seeing if they have anything exciting for their tablet or smartphones, of course. I'm also looking forward to seeing some big new developments after the loss of Steve. So um, I haven't really seen a lot of really colorful, new, and vibrant ideas coming out of Apple recently. So I'm looking forward to hopefully a lot of good announcements to read and news to report on.
Definitely, yeah. And I'm really looking forward to this event particularly because compared to Apple's last several announcements, there really haven't been all that many leaked details. The last several iPhones, we've almost known all of the details about the phone before Apple has officially announced it. And for this iPhone 6 announcement, or what everyone's assuming to be called the iPhone 6, there really haven't been too many confirmed details. No one's drunkenly left a demo phone in a bar, or no one's successfully tracked down at any rate, a Chinese parts manufacturer to leak information. So I think there's going to be a lot of actual surprises for the first time in a long time for Apple.
Well, yeah, we'll see. A lot of those leakings and that patchwork of information that comes before announcements is also very exciting. The lack of them, I don't think, drums up the attention that a lot of these announcements can sometimes deserve. So we'll see.
I think the one thing that everyone's holding their breath for is the Apple iWatch, and to see if this much rumored accessory finally sees the light of day. I think what I've been hearing out of the rumor mill is that it will be announced tomorrow, but not available until 2015, which on its face seems believable, but I have a hard time thinking Apple would miss the back to school slash holiday sales market.
Who knows?
Yeah, I guess I guess that's the whole point, right? We'll have to wait and see how tomorrow goes. But definitely, I can say if anything worth talking about comes out of the event, we will be covering it on Thursday's show. That's for sure. So if you're interested, by all means, you can catch the event. It's being streamed live to Apple, the Safari browser. If you have that installed on your Mac, you can watch it live. Otherwise, you will just have to catch the live blog reports later on. So, with that being said, like I said, we're running a little bit long today, so we're going to go ahead and wrap things up for the show. I always ask this every show, and I know you don't have a lot to offer, but what do you got going on?
Not much. I started a new game recently, a new pen and paper on a system I've never used, Hero System version 5. So that's very interesting. We're playing a superhero game, which has so far been very fun. We had our first session last Saturday evening. I'm looking very forward to our next session. I'm sure it'll be very interesting, and I am liking the hero system a lot. Certain things about it are very complex, but other things about it make a lot of sense. So that's going on. Still working on getting my Jeep to 100%. There are lots of little things I have to do there. Work just got a little bit more exciting for me. I'm on special projects now, so I get to do some interesting and fun coding, which is another big plus. And my family is coming down with strep throat, so I get to avoid them.
Awesome, awesome. I've successfully managed to avoid PAX Pox from PAX last weekend, or 2 weekends ago now? 2 weekends ago. Everyone around me has come down with some sort of bronchial infection, and I've managed to stay healthy. So here's to not picking up some bug. How's that?
Groovy, man.
All right. Well, I want to say thank you, everyone, for listening. Please check out the website at techtwiceweekly.com. I'd love to get feedback on the show or story suggestions. Feedback at techtwiceweekly.com. With that, thank you, everyone. We will be back Thursday. Have a great night, everybody.